Righto, guys. Let's talk about fake news, really. There's all this fake news stuff going on in the last couple of years, and obviously there's two sides to it. So Donald Trump will get up at a rally and he'll say CNN is fake news, right? And then he'll give his reasons why. And half of us cheer him and go, yeah, good on you. And then the other half point out, fact checkers that say, well, check this fact. He said, I'll give you an example, something that just gave me the shits. I think it's during one of the presidential debates. Trump said, we have the highest tax rate in the world. And some fact checker said false. And it was something like, if you look at income, yes, that's true, but if you look at small business or something, we have the 14th highest tax. So it's not the highest. But you've got to understand, for people who believe in limiting the government and promoting free enterprise and the power of the people to solve their own problems, why would we matter if we have the fourth highest? I mean the 14th highest tax, or the highest, the number one highest? We wouldn't give a shit. It's not going to change our minds. So you've got two sides battling out, and so basically, what are we fighting about? Is sovereignty, right? The sovereignty is like the supreme power in the land. It's an authority. Everyone's trying to say, believe what I believe. Here's my authority. Fact checkers. Donald Trump saying, believe what I believe. Here's my story. Here's my authority. Boom. So it's sovereignty. We're all fighting over sovereignty. I think X, right? I believe that capitalism is an open system, right? So the system itself gets bigger and bigger and bigger. You think capitalism is a zero-sum game, and therefore, if some people are poor, the only way to get more is to make the rich poorer. And then I think very quickly you realize that because it's an open system, it can also shrink. It can suddenly shrink the pie. But anyway, I think X, you think Y. Who gets to decide which of us is most right? Who's the sovereign? What's the sovereign? What's going to decide? Alright, so let's just, let's have a look at psychology in broad terms. This is my take on things. Don't get all bent out of shape if you don't agree with me. But being rational doesn't prove you to be right. All rational means you are rational if your ideas are consistent with each other. So if you believe that white people are evil and rich people are evil and trying to keep everyone down, and you believe economics is a zero-sum game, then when Trump says we've got the highest tax in the world, and a fact checker pops up and says, oh well, actually that's not true, well, you're going to go with that guy. But of course, people who believe in limited government, all their ideas are consistent with each other either. It's not like you get somebody who's like, well, government uses force, or it uses collectivism, and therefore it makes us poorer, and economics is an open system, and they believe in feminism. Like, think about it, you don't get very pro-capitalist people who are also feminists. Do you know what I mean? Right? Because everyone, so both those people are rational. Right? Being rational doesn't prove you right. When you come to believe something new, being rational means adjusting all the beliefs that aren't consistent anymore, getting rid of them or altering them or combining them with other, whatever. But, some of your ideas will be true. I'm not saying, absolutely true. And, there's an element of truth in them, is what I mean. And some would just be, pure belief, like absolutely no truth in them at all. You know what I mean, right? So this is like epistemology would be, the study of knowledge, but you've got truth. Now we don't have to, let's not argue about what's true and not, or false, but let's just say truth exists, and it sort of exists outside of people. Like just because I don't believe something doesn't mean it's not true, right? The truth is still true even if you don't believe in it, and the truth still affects you, and it'll make you feel certain ways about certain things. So you got truth, and then there's you, and there's what you believe, and then where your beliefs meet truth, that's your knowledge, right? And you want to gain more knowledge, so you want your beliefs to mirror truths more and more to gain knowledge. Right, so you look at that again, right? And you say, well, who do we want as sovereign? The most knowledgeable man or woman, Jesus, in case the feminists lose their shit. Right? But how the fuck would you know who's going to know who the most knowledgeable man is? But surely, even better, you'd want the truth to be sovereign. But then also, how do you know what the truth is? Alright, so obviously we want the truth to be sovereign. So we're going to be looking at how the truth is made sovereign, and how the truth is excluded and it cannot be sovereign. And then you have a man-made authority, and you might say that the authority is the equivalent of a really stupid man, right? But you live under that authority. If like countries, there's no free speech. And why? Because, well, if there's free speech and people get these ideas and they don't want to live under our government and they want to change the government, right? You live under the authority of a stupid bloke, or the equivalent of a stupid bloke, whereas you want to live under the truth, because the truth is so fucking huge that you can keep on gaining knowledge and live 10 lifetimes and keep gaining knowledge through all of that, and you still won't get to the end of it. Right? That's just another idea, like if you think of knowledge as sort of like as terrain. There's what you know, and it's kind of like Command and Conquer. If you ever played that game, you start in the middle of the map, and around you is just darkness. And if you walk towards the darkness, it lightens up, and you got to go and explore and find. Right, that's kind of like what knowledge is. You've got the known, and then you've got to go out into the unknown. Push the boundaries. Right, so gaining knowledge is from low res to high res. Like low res ideas, somebody can give you their ideas in 10 sentences, and then high res ideas, folks got to start writing books, and that just gets harder to share ideas. But you got this, you're expanding territory, that idea again. And the more you know, like you just got to, I suppose you could consider it an assumption, but I'm sure most people will agree that the more knowledge you have, the more easily your will manifests, comes into being. Like you can just look at a specific field of knowledge and say, or look at your job, right? When you didn't really know much because you had these beliefs that got in your way, you couldn't achieve what you wanted to achieve or do what you wanted to do, and you seemed like you just had no say on what was happening. And then you gain more knowledge, and then you go out and what you want to happen actually happens. I'm sure everyone can agree with this, and I know, well, there are going to be people who don't, but whatever. Right, so I'm talking about this retrospection, and you look back at, what knowledge did I used to have, what did I used to believe, and then what, stages were there, and then what do I believe now? It's like roughly, this is what I believed. I believed when I was young, capitalism is zero sum game. I'm talking about like early teenage years when you don't really you don't really think about it. You're not involved in it at all. Right? Then when I got a bit older, I didn't ever really believe in socialism, or I don't know, maybe when I was really young I had some vague belief in socialism, but I can definitely say there was a phase where I thought socialism definitely doesn't work, don't fucking go there. Capitalism is the best thing so far, but maybe we can improve it. Maybe it's a little unjust, maybe we could make it better for everyone. Yeah. No, I don't believe that anymore. I believe capitalism is an open system, and that's a complicated thing in itself. But now, okay, assuming that this is gaining knowledge, right? That I'm not going to further into belief, whereas you could say that I am, and you can make a case for that. But let's just assume that this is a gain in knowledge. 1, 2, 3, right? So then the conscious. Say person 1 believes capitalism is zero-sum game. That's what you believe. That's your conscious idea. Person 2 believes capitalism is an open system. Right? Then the unconscious, right? Assuming that number 2 is right, person 2 is right. So what's the unconscious of number 2 manifest? And you live in a capitalist country. If you believe capitalism is zero-sum game, you say, well, I'm not better off because the rich are evil or stupid. Or stupid, They could share, but they just want to have it all to themselves. Or they just believe these stupid capitalist ideas and blah, blah, blah. But if you live in a capitalist country and you believe that capitalism is an open system, well, life is good. You just sort of hope that those other twits don't fuck it up for you, right? And then, these are just vague takes on, Jung's ideas. Carl Jung came up with a bunch of these ideas, and I haven't actually. It's just they sort of meet up with my own ideas and my own vague ideas, so I'm probably butchering them, but that's because I'm just talking about my own head. I don't know Jung's head, I'm afraid. But right, let's say, okay, the collective unconscious. In Australia, capitalism manifests. It's an open system. It's allowed to, largely, let's not go, oh, there is that one. I'm generalizing. We can generalize, can't we? Right, so those people who believe one, you could say the collective unconscious is those who believe that capitalism is a zero-sum game. They don't like work. They feel hard done by. They feel like they should be better off. But they do prosper in an environment of freedom. And because they're free, they can go and their actions are free to proceed, and they can go and learn through experience and come to understand why capitalism works, rather than just believing that it doesn't work for them or whatever. Right? Whereas, those who believe in capitalism being an open system are happy and a bit defensive. They want to protect it. Right, so basically, I'm just saying, and let's say what number of people love capitalism to the point of being a Milton Friedman? You can find YouTube videos of him, and he just engages with people of the opposite side and in debates, and he just shuts them down. But I don't know, let's say it's 1 in 100 people loves capitalism as much as Milton Friedman. Let's say not as good as a debatism, but just say understands it as well as he does and appreciates it as much as he does. Right? So it's not a lot of people, but for some reason in Australia, even though maybe there's more people who don't like work and feel hard and don't like capitalism. For some reason, it manifests, and therefore people prosper from this unconscious knowledge. You know what I mean? You could say Australians benefit from their unconscious knowledge. It's things that are true that they don't know yet, right? Whereas in contrast, in Zimbabwe, economics, capitalism, whatever, is treated as a zero-sum game. Right, so those people who believe that it's a zero-sum game and therefore are happy that land was taken from farmers and redistributed and all the policies that came on from that. Well, their expectations didn't manifest. They expected that everyone would be better off and things would start improving and they would all be richer. That didn't happen. Everyone, some people got richer, but everyone, by and large, got way worse off, and the pie shrunk like a motherfucker. Right? So their expectations didn't manifest, and they they didn't prosper from their unconscious knowledge, and they exist in an environment of tyranny. So your actions are impeded. You can't act in the world freely, and therefore, through experience, gain knowledge and come to understand capitalism. Of course, you can, but it's just there's a lot of obstacles. And then when you do understand it, it's not like it's going to manifest. You just understand it like, oh, well, shit. Well, now I believe that capitalism is an open system. I go to Australia. But you can look at it like all this truth that is not yet common knowledge, among Zimbabweans, it doesn't manifest. Therefore, people aren't benefiting from things they don't know yet. So they've limited action. Citizens are limited. Everyone is limited to certain ideas. Anything outside of that, well, it's not going to manifest. You can understand it, but it's not going to manifest. Right? That's how dangerous being illiberal is. If you're a liberal, you're reducing your sovereign authority to some relatively daft bloke. And it's like, well, now everyone's got to live under what he says. It's like some idiot going, oh, you can't say that. You can't do that. Oh, you want to own land? Well, actually, it's all going to be leases now because capitalism is a zero-sum game. And we can't let it go back with whatever. Whereas Australia benefits. Let's say 99% of people in Australia don't understand capitalism at all. Let's just say that. But for some reason, Australians are liberal and they benefit from knowledge that they don't even have. They benefit from unconscious knowledge. You see what I'm saying? Like it's an incredible difference between being a liberal country and being an illiberal country. If you're a liberal, you cannot benefit from what you don't know yet. Right? Whereas in Australia, people who don't even know the ideas, don't even understand why, are benefiting from it. Sure, and then of course there are people who know why. But of course then you say, well, scratch capitalism, there's way more truth that's manifesting, and it's beyond even Milton Friedman. It's beyond the greatest mind, and it manifests. And so you benefit. Right. This is, I want to just say this is an assumption, even though I don't think it is, but knowledge is power. Like greater knowledge requires less resources to manifest. Like think about it. So socialists, what would it take for their ideas to actually happen? They won't be able to convince anyone, so they'd have to use force. They'd have to have an army. They'd have to not be detected. They'd have to arm that army. They'd have to have all those resources and then use force to put themselves in place and then maintain themselves even. It's going to take how much resources to maintain itself. That's why the Soviet Union fell. How the hell are you going to maintain that, going forward? Whereas if you're a liberal person, basically it's like keep tyranny at bay, which, getting rid of tyranny is one thing, but, keeping it at bay, keeping it away is relatively, doesn't use a lot of resources. And then punishing criminals. And, how many people are criminals? 1 in 100 at some stage of their lives? I don't know. It doesn't matter, but it's not a lot of people. You're not forcing 50 people out of 100 against their will. Maybe using force against 1 in 100 against their will. And it's because they want to use force on other people. Right, so let's go back to that idea again. Who do we want as a sovereign? The most knowledgeable man or the truth? Obviously, we want the truth. So now, if you let knowledge compete, I believe the truth wins out. I don't know if people agree with me or not, but I believe the truth wins out because it's easier to manifest. Right, so I believe more knowledgeable people defeat less knowledgeable people because it takes less effort. More knowledgeable groups of people defeat less knowledgeable groups of people because it takes less effort. Let's not even say defeat, let's just say have authority, have power over, right? Are sovereign over. Like, I don't necessarily think a feminist club is that dangerous or that powerful. Whereas a conservative group probably is way more powerful or authoritative or sovereign because they can convince people with relatively few resources and they can spread their ideas and get things that they have their will manifest. Feminists haven't had any of their will manifest. I'm talking about modern feminists, not back in the day when they wanted the vote, they got the vote. Then they wanted whatever second wave was about. But now basically they want to be paid the same as a man, even though they really haven't looked at the basic economics. And the only way that's ever going to happen is if they use force. One half of the population uses force against the other half. Good luck with that. Right, so we want the truth to be sovereign, to be the decider, to have the power, to be the authority. Right, so let's consider the individual as a sovereign. Right, if every individual becomes a sovereign, they are sovereigns among sovereigns, right? Because I'm a sovereign, you're a sovereign. Right, you're free to act and use your knowledge and your belief, so long as I'm free to act and use my knowledge and my belief. And then, depending on how you react to your experiences, if you react poorly, you're going to have more belief, less knowledge. Whereas if you react well, you gain knowledge, you get less belief. And then because I believe the truth wins out and knowledge is powerful, people who know more have more say in what the truth is, or on how things proceed and what manifests. So civil society is a sovereign. Now, in different contexts I use this differently, but here I'm just using it as people acting together without being acted upon. People voluntarily joining together. Right? People can be forced into things. I'm not talking about that. I mean, that's part of knowledge. You've got to know that you can be forced into things you don't want to do. Right? Happens everywhere and every day. But I'm talking about people acting together without being acted upon, right? They've got more knowledge, more resources, right? More power to manifest the truth. You can get a lot of people together who really all agree on some tiny bit of knowledge that really isn't very true at all. And what you think about those people, they're not going to be willing to put a lot of money towards a cause or a lot of effort, or they're not going to be able to do a lot except for scream and shout. Not even going to be able to write a blog post. It'd be like 10 words long. What they just scream and shout at the sky and protest, right? How many people protest? What are you actually doing? They know they're not doing anything. Right? But if there's more knowledge and more resources available, truth is going to manifest. Right? Your knowledge will manifest. Alright, so what are higher sovereigns? You've got individuals, you've got civil society. Like your political party is like a form of civil society. You're not forced to join a political party. Depending on the party, you get to say on who represents you, and get to choose the leader, get to vote for members or candidates, right? And so if you've got a political party that's collectivistic, I don't believe it's going to do as well as a political party that isn't. Right? Because if you're going to say, join our party, but this little group of us, we're going to decide the leader, how easy is it going to be to decide somebody that doesn't represent members? And if you're not representing even the members, then the extended people who normally vote for that party are probably going to go, oh, well, they don't represent us. There's this other party. Right? So, I mean, civil society, you can do civil society well, which is knowledgeable, or you can do it badly, which is unknowledgeable, which is based on belief and false ideas, and you can stuff it up. And the same applies to government. And then, of course, you've got a nation, right? Or the state, which is, government lasts as long as its leader is there, as long as the party is there, and then there's opposition gets in, it's a new government, but the nation is the same. And government operates within a nation, which is it's a massive civil society of people acting together without being acted upon. I don't have to be Australian. You don't have to be Australian. You can go live wherever you want. Well, not unless they don't let you in. But you can find somewhere where they'll have you and you can go live there. You don't have to be Australian. Right, so then what's the highest sovereign? If knowledge manifests more easily, right? More knowledge. Well, it's the mostly unknowable truth. You can always know more, but you will never know everything, not even close. So this mostly unknowable truth, you could call it God. And if you listen to people who use the word God, they're often, it's not like they use it randomly, they use it in certain contexts, right? Like the Pledge of Allegiance in America. Pledge my allegiance to the flag of the United States of America and to the republic for which it stands, one nation, under God, indivisible, with liberty and justice for all. Right? That's talking about levels of hierarchy, pretty much. Pledge my allegiance to a symbol of a nation. And the republic is a form of government. You could have pure democracy there and turn it into crap in no time. Right? And then you've got your nation under God, right? Nation is below the unknowable truth, the truth, indivisible, with liberty and justice for all, and that's your individuals. And if your individuals have liberty and justice, well, then the whole hierarchy gets to manifest. If people don't have liberty and justice, then the hierarchy manifests to some basic level until your supreme authority is abandoned. And you've got to live under that dictator. That's what all this fake news stuff is about. Because all of a sudden people have got a bit shitty. People were happy with who had a say, and went, oh, that's fine, that's true. Now there's different groups, and they're going, hey, well, that's not true. You don't get to say that it's true, or your authorities are false authorities. And there's gonna be a battle for truth, and there'll be stability later on, surely. But let me put it this way: if you want the highest sovereign to be truth, to be God, and I understand I'm taking a very sort of psychological interpretation of God, which a lot of people aren't going to like, but it's one interpretation. I believe it's valid, and it's valid among other interpretations, and I'm sure your interpretation is just as valid. It can show a lot, right? But I'm just using this idea here about sovereignty, and does truth win out? And I believe truth wins out. So basically, if you don't let the individual be sovereign, then you cannot have God as a sovereign, as your ultimate sovereign. And then the question is, well, what becomes you? How daft does your ultimate sovereign become? There you go. Righto, let's end that there, I reckon.